Be still and cool in thy own mind and spirit, from thy own thoughts. Then thou wilt feel the principle of God, to turn thy mind to the Lord God, whereby thou wilt receive God's strength and power, from whence life comes. Whereby thou wilt receive God's strength to allay all blusterings, storms, and tempests. Good afternoon, friends. That quote from George Fox is the first one that I put to memory. And I did this, I started this project out of my own need for spiritual nurturance and for reminders of the hope and promise that I see when I read early friends' writings. I was going through, and I'm still going through, a lot of hard things in my life, and I wanted to memorize these writings. When I would see certain passages, they would jump out at me, and wanted to memorize them so that I could internalize them and have them in me, in a sense. And the only way I could do that I knew of was to, because my memory's not that good, but if I put something to melody, I can remember it. And so I just picked up that quote and sang it. And it's like the melody, somebody said, "Are you a composer?" once, and I said, "No, I'm not really a composer." It just seems like because I don't read or write music, that I just pick up something and a melody is there. And it sort of goes, it seems to me like anybody could do this. You just sort of read it out loud and we put song to it, and it just is there. And so the melody seems to flow with the words, and it may have something to do with that I grew up in a religious tradition where I sang Latin Gregorian chant all the time. And so that's sort of in my being, I think. But it was interesting to learn that Fox, this quote, this first one I shared, Fox wrote in a letter to, probably many of you know, to Oliver Cromwell's daughter, Elizabeth Cromwell, because Fox had been asked to help heal her. And he was at a distance, and he was known as a healer, and she was going through a rough time. Apparently, it was a disorder, it was an illness of psychological in nature. And so it was interesting to me to learn that those were some of the words he shared with her to soothe her and to help heal her, and those are the words I chose for myself. And it's a good reminder to give thinking a break, and especially when you're worried or distressed, to let the thoughts go and take time to sit and listen. And I think for a lot of us, I still consider myself a newcomer to Quaker practice. I joined about 5 years ago and just started really going regularly to friends in about the year 2000, 2001, around then. But I think for a lot of us, we're not really sure what people are doing in the silence, in the meeting for worship. And I had the good fortune of taking a class from Rex Ambler while I was at Pendle Hill in 2004 and 2005. And Rex had done a thorough search of Fox's writings, in part to see whether he had given any directions to early friends about what to do in the silence. And he felt he longed to have some of the spiritual transformation and that he saw in the writings of early friends. He wasn't feeling like it wasn't quite happening for him. He wasn't learning things to shift in his life. And so he found out that Fox had written lots of directives. I'll share one. Stand still in that which is pure, after ye see yourselves and then mercy comes in. After thou seest thy thoughts and temptations, do not think, but submit, and then power comes in. Stand still in that which shows and discovers, and there doth strength immediately come. And stand still in the light, and submit to it, and the other will be hushed and gone, and then contentment comes. Most of the passages from Fox that I used in the course of this project came from Rex's anthology, Truth of the Heart. I don't know if you're familiar with that. The bookstore sells it. If you're not, I highly recommend that anthology of Fox's writings. It's just quotations and organized in such a way that they're very meaningful. And the passages at the beginning of the recording, after I had done all of these different random things, I realized that I could sort of put them in an order. And a number of them seem to speak to the directive of centering. What you do in the first step of Quaker practice is, like George Lakey said last night, let go. And so a lot of the first quotations on the CD are about that, letting go. And stand still in that which is pure. Put yourself in that eternal Christ spirit, and let the light show you what's not in the light, what's in the shadow, what's behind the shadow, and what's behind ego. And the whole idea of emptying oneself. I recently heard an Episcopalian author refer to Quakerism as a kenotic spirituality, which I had to look up in the dictionary and saw that kenotic came from the Greek word kenosis, which means emptying. So over and over again, early Quakers were saying, empty yourself, get rid of your preoccupations, forget your thinking, go down past thoughts to the center, and release control and invite the light in to reveal the truth. And as you know, the experience of the light for early friends and for many of us, if we go there, can be terrifying, because it can show things that we don't want to see. It can show the truth about ourselves and about what we've let happen in the world even. But that's an important first step in the path of deep healing and integration. I'm going to share another one of Fox's quotes that I just loved when I saw this. Ye have no time but this present time. Ye have no time but this present time. Ye have no time but this present time. Therefore prize your time for your soul's sake. In focusing on the writings of early friends, it was wonderful for me to discover in their practice and experience of primitive Christianity connections with Eastern religions that I've explored in my own life, as well as with modern day understandings of human psychology. When I read, last year I read The Power of Now, if any of you, it's sort of a popular current guru, by Eckhart Tolle. I had to laugh because I felt like many of his ideas could have been lifted right out of the writings of Fox and early friends, in that awareness of it is here now. Go there. Let yourself go there now and experience the love and joy that is here now. This passage by Naylor, in a similar vein, offers such sound wisdom for us, I think, today. that's why when my cohorts, Linda Kopic and J.P. Lund, we were sitting around trying to think of what to call this collection, and Linda came up with the idea timeless, that these are timeless Quaker sayings. There's wisdom that's very important for us today still. And this quote by Naylor, I think, is particularly meaningful, knowing the amount of darkness he experienced in his life, the tremendous sense of isolation even from his dearest friends, the torture in the horrible prisons that he was in, and that even through that he could come out with this idea. Art thou in the darkness? Mind it not, for if thou dost, it will feed thee more. But stand still and act not, and wait in patience, till light arises out of darkness and leads thee. Art thou in the darkness? Mind it not, for if thou dost, it will feed thee more. And stand still and act not, and wait in patience, till light arises out of darkness and leads thee. What struck me about the personal accounts of so many of these early friends was how strong their experience was of a sweet presence in their midst, in their meetings, and how deeply they felt held in love and joy, even in the worst of possible conditions in the prisons of England. The sense of connection with the Christ Spirit was so healing and so powerful that they were willing and eager, it seemed, much like the early Christians, to forsake all for it. The understanding that the kingdom of heaven is available in the here and now, not in the far-off hereafter, came directly out of this experience of being held in so much joy and love. Fox chastised the Puritans for what he called preaching up sin, and he was considered a heretic for saying that he was not in sin. When one is so in touch with the essence of truth, which is love, there is a restoring to wholeness, a living in love. The passionate words of Joan Vokins, that's one woman I had not heard of before, but I ran across it when I think it was in Hidden in Plain Sight that I ran into her writings. And she was one of the many early female ministers who left her children. She forsook all. She left her children, her and her husband, to follow her leading to travel in the ministry. And one of the quotations I saw from her, one of her writings was this one that just really stood out for me too. Lord, give me and mine the comfortable enjoyment of thy presence forever, and then try us as thou pleasest. Thy preserving power is all that I desire of thee, and unto it I submit it all. And with thee I leave all, for thou art worthy to dispose of all. And then would life flow in like a river to the comforting and strengthening of soul and body. similarly, another woman, Sarah Blackborough, which actually Michael Burkle right here in front row pointed out to me one time at Ohio Yearly Meeting that I should check her writing out, and I did. She was one of the earliest tract writers, and she expressed her deep connection with the divine in language similar to early Christian female mystics that I have been familiar with from my years in the Catholic tradition. She expressed it with no concern for consistency about such matters as the Trinity or the gender of the divine. This quotation reminds me of George Lakey's talk last night, too. It seemed that Sarah Blackborough clearly had a deep understanding of how living in and accepting truth can set you free. Oh, love, truth, and its testimony, whether its witness be to you or against you. Love it, that into my mother's house you all may come, and into the chamber of her that conceived me, where you may embrace and be embraced of my dearly beloved ones. Love is his name, love is his nature, and love is his life. I was in a sort of a Quaker midweek meeting for worship this past year, and we were reading various things, both biblical things, and for a while we were reading from Isaac Pennington's writings. And I was really struck by what an intimate knowledge he had of the journey of the soul, of the phases of development in the soul, and how he even interpreted the story of the Israelites in their journey, the 40 days in the desert, and just 40 days. It was 40. It was more than 40 days, right? Years. And just he had such an understanding. And when you read, you don't read this First Testament story the same after you've read Pennington's interpretation of it. And he had a profound understanding of the inner transformation that can come from turning one's will over to God. Give over thine own willing, give over thine own running, and give over thine own desiring to know or be anything, and sink down to the seed which God sows in thy heart, and let that be in thee, and grow in thee, and breathe in thee, and act in thee.